Uh, Thank you. Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out. My name is Claire Chastain. I'm the manager. Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, great. Thanks, Roxana. I'm Claire Chastain. I'm the manager of events and programs here at Galveston Historical Foundation. It is an honor to have Mr. Greg Sanford and Mr. David O'Neill today to speak about the Central Bearcats. So thank you so much for coming out. And for those that don't know, every month GHF does host some sort of lunch and lecture during the week at this same time frame. So please go to our website to check those out if you are interested in attending those in the future. Without further ado, Mr. David O'Neill. Thank you.
Hello there. We're so glad that you come out here to visit with us today. As stated, my name is David O'Neill. This is Mr. Greg Sanford, and hopefully we're going to enlighten you about the Prairie View Interscholastic League, basketball and baseball, and the effects of it here in Galveston. For those who may not know, the Prairie View Interscholastic League is, at that particular time, was the twin to the University Interscholastic League. So prior to 1968, there were two governing bodies for all extracurricular activities for students in school. The UIL was for the white kids, and the Prairie View Interscholastic League was for the black kids. And so what we hope to do today is give you a historical perspective and show you how great the players and the coaches were in the PVIL, and show that there was, they say separate but equal, but we thought we were separate but better. so the point we're going to do is that we're going to start off with the basketball, and here's Mr. Greg Sanford.
Thank you, David, and thank you for being here today. But just to follow up on what David has mentioned, we've just scratched the surface of what we're going to uncover in years to come. So when we keep having these in the later years, we'll be presenting new information, not information that we've presented in the past. But I'd like to start today with the start of the Prairie View Interscholastic League, and that happened. And actually, the meetings had started in 1939. So we'll get let me see, get this and. There we go. Okay, that was their original program that they had that started. And let me clarify this, because this happened across the board in all the organizations back then. They were combining several organizations, just put them under one umbrella, because they had an organization that kind of governed the schools in Northeast Texas and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then Prairie View had it for the Houston area and the San Antonio area and the Valley in East Texas. So at this particular time, they wanted to put it under one governing body, and that's what they did at this meeting. And now you got to remember also that the school year for us, kind of starts in September, but the calendar year is when a lot of these organizations start. So this started in January of 1940, which put it in basketball season. So football season was toward the end of that in the fall. But usually we think of football season as to start the school year. But in all these other organizations, when they usually started in January. Now, this is a student eligibility form. This is one that was filled out by Central, that all the schools filled out, both in Prairie View Interscholastic League and the UIL. Now, if you look on that list, you might see some names that are familiar. Roy, do you recognize any name? Yeah, okay. What's that? Yeah. Okay, what about the one below Charles Ferguson? The very first one, Charles Alexander Sr. senior. Okay, so y'all might recognize him. Well, that's his son went to LSU. But that's why this slide got selected to be put on the student eligibility form for Charles. The first coach for Central's boys basketball team, and that's a name that y'all are familiar with. Okay. And he was 1940, Dr. Morgan was 1940. And Dr. Banks came around in 1941. Each one of them coached a single season. Okay, then in 1942, they got a new coach, and he's on the right side of your picture, Coach Wilbur Byrd, and they called him Stretch. He was 6'5". Now, you can recognize the other two gentlemen in the picture, Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Shepard. Mr. Mitchell went on to be a principal. He was my freshman principal at Ball High School in 1971. But Wilbur Byrd, he took over the basketball program in 1942. Now that's the 42-43 season. Okay, they started in the fall of 1942 and went into 1943. And what we're going to go to now is what we call the golden era of Central's basketball program, because in this era they had quite a few district championships and played in the state tournament. Now this particular year, the 1942-43 year, as you can see on the bracket there, they went to the semifinals. Mr. Templeson will have this banner to put in Central. Now, let me tell you what is not presented up there is they had to win a game against Dallas Booker T. Washington to advance as far, and that's what we call now in basketball circles the Sweet 16. So there were 16 teams. Now, this little known other than they beat Booker T. Washington 23-15. We don't know where the game was. The game was played on the Prairie View campus, but we don't know much more about it than that, because their next game, which is what we call now the Elite Eight, they won that game as well to advance to the semifinals. But we'll keep digging and try to find that information. There's a lot of old newspapers we got to go through, and with limited resources now, a lot of that information wasn't recorded and moved forward. We'll try to find out who they beat to get to this point. If you can see that from the tournament, they made it to the semifinals, and Houston Yates went on to win the state championship that year. And that was the 1942-1943 school year. The 1943-1944 school year, Central won the state championship. And those are the 8 members of the team, and Coach Wilbur Byrd. Y'all might recognize some of the families. Now, okay. Now I might ask Mr. O'Neill to come in. You want to say anything about some of these players?
Yeah, if you notice there, you'll see a lot of names that continue to come up throughout the history of what's going on, and more specifically, like individuals like Mr. Bernard Curtis. He was instrumental in playing on the state championship basketball team, and finished high school at 16, went to the military and played in several military sports. And with those skills, he came back to Galveston and worked at the Wright CUNY Park and established a Little League basketball program as well as a tennis program. And as we'll be talking later on, simultaneously, someone helped start the Little League baseball program at the Wright CUNY. Because remember, the Wright CUNY was originally a military place where they had a swimming pool and tennis courts out there. You don't see that now, but that's what they had then. And then the same thing with Mr. Willie Silverand, who played semi-pro ball and had tryouts with the baseball team. In fact, we found him on a program on one of the Channel 8 programs when they had this guy out there, and he had on a jersey that said Galveston. And so that's how we knew he was up there. And also Mr. John Mack, who came back and also became a basketball official, as well as J.D. Sanderson. His son became, J.D. Sanderson is the father of John Holden, John David Holden. And so those genes and those individuals' bloodline were just perpetuating in the future. So those are just some of the things that we were trying to bring out, as well as Coach John Campbell. Mr. John Campbell is the older brother of the basketball coach Robert Campbell. And so it's such an intertwining thing here. And as Greg and I delve into it, we just have such a love for finding out about this history, and it's somewhat addicting when you find out what's going on, and we just continue. And I just applaud him because he's able to get so much pertinent information. I knew about the state championship games, but he was able to find out the other games that were going on. Now, keep in mind, when you see high school athletics now, there are always several people to play in the district. But when we were coming along, or when this was coming along, there was only one individual for the district, which is why the seasons were a lot shorter, because the playoffs was only for so many districts as opposed to 3 or 4 teams in every district. So I know they, however they wanted to do that, but that's the way it was back in those days. And so I turn that back over to Mr. Sanford.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll move to the 1944-45 season. And again, Central made it to the semifinals. There's nothing known about the playoff games before then. And that's just some information we'll have to dig into and get. And if you see on the bracket, it doesn't even show a final score between the Hebert Central game. And then, of course, Houston Yates, who was very well coached back then. Pat Patterson coached the Houston Yates team, and he also coached a team during the same time frame during the war period at Ellington Air Force Base. Now, if you remember back during World War II, there was a lot of kids lying about their age to get into the military. So they were high school age kids. So when you talk about the Central team playing against Camp Wallace and Hitchcock and Ellington Air Force Base, they were playing basically against kids their own age. Children, it was just segregated back then, so they had teams that they could play against where if they didn't find another high school team that they could play against at that particular time. So it kept them moving forward, with their skills in basketball. The 44-45 season, they again went to the state semifinals, and that's another banner that will get placed in Central that shows them making it to the semifinals. Okay. The 1945-46 season, Central got to the finals and lost to Houston Booker T. Washington. Now, this particular game, again, if you see on the bracket there's no record of who Central played to get into the finals, but we'll try to dig into that. Surely they played somebody, they just get a bye to the finals. I don't think that happens to any organization anymore, but we'll have to look into that. Something we'll try to have by the time we meet again to do our presentation. But the 45-46 school year, they were runner-up in the state for boys basketball. And that's the 46 team. And I'm again ask Mr. O'Neill if he would come forward and speak to some of these players. Now, I want to do a little hit before I get started. Coach Dillon was on this team. And I'm very fond of Coach Dillon. Even after my high school years, we stayed in touch with him until he passed away a few years ago. So he's on this team. So I wanted to put a little personal plug in for him.
Again, you see so many names up there, individuals that you didn't know they were great athletes. You see little old men like myself, and you don't realize what they had done earlier in life. You see up there, there's Mr. Let's see, Mr. Thomas, Roland Thomas, was also the great educator, and he was also the football player that was on the state championship team in 1946. So kids participated in multi sports. On the front there, the guy kneeling down, that's Mr. Joe Carmen, who is the uncle of Amy Bly, who works for the Galveston School District, the secretary for the school district. That's her mother's brother. He was one of the guys that helped integrate the golf course. Then you have Mr. Washington on the front row. That's Charles Washington's father, the one we call Chuck Washington. That's him. And then there's Mr. I remember. Mr. Paul. He came back from the military and had worked for the post office and had a club. Yes, I can see on there. I'm reading this stuff backwards. I think you mentioned Radon Dillon and also Mr. Rudolph Jackson. That's the Rudolph Jackson's children that ended up being one of his youngest son was a coach in Conroe and established coaching in there. You can read off the screen over here. Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. That's even better. Yeah, and there's J.D. Sanderson again, Paul Christian, and Joe Johnson and L.C. Washington. But those names continue to come up again and again as their children or their children's children continue to do well in athletics. Now, I want people to understand this. When we talk about athletics, it's not so much that it's athletics, but what athletics or any extracurricular activity does is the intangibles of what you're doing. You learn discipline, work ethic, and team concept. Discipline is so important because you can't control your situation if you can't control yourself. Work ethic is so important because you have to work to get what you want, and then you have to work even harder to get it. And then you understand team concept. You're not in this alone. You have to do your part and encourage whomever to do their part, then collectively you can win. And that bodes well for any part of your life, whether your job, your relationships, and just everyday situation. But those things that are taught in athletics, everything's just not going to be peachy cream. You're going to have some good and some bad. So you have to deal with that and be able to deal with that. So I applaud that, and I also applaud our athletic director, who definitely understands that. Mr. Gerald Temple is in the audience tonight as well. That's it there.
I just want to say a few more things before we move on to the 1956 state runner-up team. Back during this time, basketball was very competitive in PVIL. Houston Wheatley won the state championship in 1948. They didn't win in 49, but from 1950 to 1955, they were state champions every year. They had a good program there. Then they won again in 58, 59, and 61. So Houston Wheatley was kind of dominant. Now, one other thing I want to mention real quick, the 1956, it was a state runner-up, and they lost to Port Arthur, Lincoln. Now, Mr. Collins and I were speaking earlier about a player that, when we were in high school, that played at Port Arthur, Lincoln, that was the second best high school player in America in 1974. Now, you talking about, that's 51 years ago. But if I told you who the number one player in America was, and the high school player in America was in 1974, you'd recognize the name. It was Moses Malone. So I was just wondering, I said, I wonder if Earl Evans had any relatives that played on the 56 team, because there's not that big a difference in the age gap. But I'll be some research I'll look into and come back and report that to you. But again, I'm going to get Mr. O'Neill to talk about the 56 team, because they were state runner-ups, and they played Lincoln several times during the season, but Lincoln just had a really good program that year.
Yeah, you'll see on there, the captain of the team was a Mr. Wilson Smith. Wilson Smith was the captain of the team in 1956, and then on some future stuff, you'll know that his brother, Herbert Smith, was the captain of 1968. And then his younger brother was Henry J. Smith, who was the captain of the state runner-up in 1963. So those Smith boys were all good basketball players, and sometimes they were referred to, they were just like the Smith brothers cough drops. They were good for what ailed your basketball team. So but you also see Mr. Charles Ferguson on there. We call him Chalky Red. He was our first premier NFL player. Played for he ended up playing for Buffalo, but he started off with the Minnesota Vikings and had the longest reception from scrimmage that one year from Fran Tarkington. When they talk about scrambling quarterbacks, they didn't want you to scramble, and Fran Tarkington was a little guy that scrambled back in the day. But that record stood for 30 years until 1990, 90-something. But that's Charles Ferguson right here from Galveston, Texas. You also see Prudential Lindsay on there, who was one of the first guards for Frost Bank or United States National Bank at that time. And then you see Fletcher Baldwin. That's another guy we call Stretch. Second from the end where Coach Byrd is. But Fletcher Baldwin was one of the first, in the first group to integrate the fire department in the 56, 57. So just information that, as I stated earlier, the intangibles of athletics provides a confidence for you to pursue and the courage to do other things.
Just a couple more things before I move on to the 62 team. All these teams were coached by Wilbur Byrd. He was coached, but around this time, Wilbur Byrd left Central and he went to Fort Worth, where he was at Kirkpatrick High School as an assistant principal. Now, in 1961, Kirkpatrick won the PVIL 4A state championship in basketball. And I wonder if he had anything to do with them, coached them along the way. He was assistant principal, but we'll have to look into that as well. And then one other thing, 1962, the PVIL state champions were Houston Worthing High School. And there was a guy on that team named David Latine now, and his nickname was Big Daddy. But if you saw the movie Glory Road, he was on that 1966 Texas Western team that beat Kentucky for the national championship. It was the first time he had 5 black starters. And the coach told the team before the game, we're only the black players are going to play in this game. So he was the big center on that team, and he won the state championship for Worthing High School in 1962. But we're going to move on now to the 1962 team. Do you want to make any comments about 62?
Yeah, this is the 1962 team, which was the precursor to the state championship of 1963. And if you notice again, you see just as his father was a great basketball player, you see Charles Washington on there as one of the captains, along with Sammy Johnson. Sammy Johnson is one of the great pitchers who ended up trying out for the Houston Astros in some turbulent times, and he had some horrific stories with that. But he rose to be a captain in the fire department here in Galveston. Yeah, you can go to 63.
Go ahead.
Now this is the 1963 team. I have a lot of familiarity with a lot of these because at that particular time I was a trainer on the basketball team and the football team. I didn't start growing until a year after. But if you see a lot of those guys up there, there's standing next to Coach Campbell, it's Gus Allen. Gus Allen, Nathaniel Loftus, and Henry Smith were the only basketball players who never played freshman ball. In fact, they at that particular time we had Goliad was a junior high school, and when junior high school at 7th through the 9th grade, they were attending classes at Central as a 9th grader, but they were eligible to participate in the junior high school program. But their talent was so good that they played 4 years as varsity basketball players. That's Gus Allen, Nathaniel Doc Loftus, and Henry J. Smith. Again, you see Eddie Bone Williams. Some of y'all may not remember Eddie. He ended up working for the school district, and he played point guard for the basketball team, but later on in life, he looked like a guard for an NFL team. So we always tease him about that. Eddie Bone Williams, and there's Miss Merritt on there. That is the Walter Merritt, is the older brother of Mr. Merritt, who teaches at the high school, the great Michael Merritt. Then you have, again, there's John Holden. We made mention of his dad playing in the, J.D. Sanders was playing in the basketball and the football program when he was in high school in the 40s, and here his son's doing it in the 60s. You had J.C. Pope, Charles Williams, class of 1965. That's Miss Gatson's classmates there, and Mrs. Dumas and right. And it's just quite a few. Leon Stinson, and when you hear that Stinson name, that name continues to reverberate because those Stinsons played in the NFL, Chicago Bears, and a couple more teams, but they are now either certified police officers and so forth like that at the University of Texas Medical Branch. We could go on and on, but we don't want to hold you too long, but it's just that so many great things that were going on here. Who else is on there? That was, Gerald Pope, Levy Reed. When you just take a look at that picture, because those names will continue to reverberate in the story, in the tapestry of these athletic programs. Oh yeah. Okay. We come up now to the baseball program, and how the baseball program. I had the little memorabilia over there. If you get a chance, take a look at it. I was showing you that this is a 1935 baseball team, not at Central, but within the city. Mr. Ray T. Shepard who is considered the father of athletics here in for Galveston Central, more specifically for African Americans. He played in the Negro League Baseball League. And if you saw earlier, you saw where Dr. Morgan was a basketball coach. But Dr. Morgan also played in the Negro Baseball League. And so, when you see these guys, you think that they're just complete nerds, but in actuality, they're well-rounded individuals who participated. Again, those intangibles of athletics, discipline, work ethic, team concept bodes well for you throughout life. The next, okay, this is a 1940 softball team. And if you, again, these guys, if you notice, the little skinny guy in the back, that's Reverend James Thomas. Reverend James Thomas, I think he finished high school in 1941, 42, along there with my mother. And he was instrumental in helping establish and rebuild the Galveston Negro League baseball team, baseball conference, that is. You see Riley Jack Scott, Riley Jack Scott, Arthur Williams, Philip Chason is a name that should be known. And then again, you have Willie Biggie Silverand, who I made mention of earlier. You also have, oh, I'm in the way, okay. Thank you. Yeah. You have, now this softball team was named after Principal Gibson at Central High School. It was like a YMCA because, again, you had two things. You had the Negro YMCA and the white YMCA. So he was, the Negro YMCA was named after Mr. Gibson, who was the great principal at Central High School. You also have Mr. Waverly Thomas, Waverly Sluggo Thomas, and that is the father of Waverly Thomas, another great guy of the class of 1965. Waverly Thomas was the kid who was one of the first to integrate Lamar Tech before it became Lamar University in the 60s, and they had a national record for track and field, and he was one of the kids they had just flown up and placed in the Drake relays, and there was a plane crash that killed those kids coming back. So that was Waverly Thomas. Oh yeah, the whole team was killed. So it's just so many things that are going on. But again, if you notice, these names of these guys from the 35 Negro League baseball team, and the well, not so much Negro League baseball team, but some of those guys had played in it. But those guys decided to help formulate a youth program, which was the Galveston Negro League baseball, Little League Negro League. So get that way. Now this group here, this is the first sanctioned baseball team for Central in 1950. They didn't start competition in high school for baseball in 1950. Even though there were baseball teams played locally, the competition in high schools didn't start until 1950. And we're working on those names now to get those because Greg and I are doing some great things, but we old, but we're not that old. We don't know all the guys. Okay. Then we have the 1955 baseball team, and those names are self-explanatory on there. You had, Yes, Tommy Dancer, Clinton Brooks is on there. Clinton Brooks is the older brother of James Brooks, who's affluent in political venues here in the city. You have Terry Collins, Joe Louis Smith, Thomas Green, and Leroy Keys. He's been quite a guy on there. And then there's Larry Kerrville on that team. Larry Kerrville is the younger brother of Kermit Kerrville. That's it. Now we have the 1957 team again. Again, you see the Kerrvilles on there again, Floyd and Larry. Again, these guys ended up, there's Melvin Bolden on there as well, I think. Melvin Bolden on there in the back. Yeah. Melvin Bolden was like in the 10th grade then, because I think he finished at 59. But these guys, again, it's the same recurring situation where individuals have a skill and they help train and coach Little League programs. Because I remember Floyd Kerrville was the coach at St. Vincent's House. And St. Vincent's House had a team. I remember all these guys. I was one of the little kids playing in 57, 58, 59. This is 1958 team. This team was a district championship team. On that front row, you see the guy in the T-shirt. That's James Session. That's the brother of Mary Ann Session. You have James Heron on that front row. Eugene Scott on that front row. Second row, you have Sellers. We call him Bo Diddley Sellers. His father was the barber on 8th Street. You see Marvin Bolden is the twin brother of Melvin Bolden. You have so many on there. It's just, and again, you see where Coach Campbell is the assistant coach with Coach Shepard in baseball. Again, these guys were just multi-talented and they just participated in several sports. He's already the basketball coach, but he's dealing with the baseball as well. Who else on there? And again, these guys won the district championship in 1958. Now, coming into the Little League program, this from 19. Well, this is just some of the stuff down there. The Ray T. Shepard Little League actually started, not so much Ray T. Shepard, but the Little League really started in, the Galveston Negro Little League really started in 1952. Now, these are just some clippings that were in the newspaper, but to give you some insight, the Galveston Negro Little League produced future champions for high school, college, and professional sports. Those champions have continued to the spirit and the mission of youth athletics by showing and teaching the merits of discipline, work ethic, team concept, while simultaneously producing winners. Those champions went on to become major contributors and major city officials in Galveston and other sites. Starting in 1952 at the Wright County Park with 5 teams and sanctioned the Negro Loop Baseball League, teams were the Oleander Cafe Triple X Dodgers, coached by owner Overton O.B. Parker, George Ward. The Palm Terrace Panthers, coached by Dad Prater, Herman Bennett, and then you have the YMCA Dragons, coached by Philip Chason, Robert Long Drink Johnson, Joel Murphy. And again, those names keep coming back because Mr. Ward was on one of the teams, the 1947 baseball team that was mentioned earlier. The St. Augustine Cardinals were coached by Fred Turner, and the Texas City Dodgers coaches were Jasper Victorian and others. In 1954, the Texas City Yankees, coached by Iverson Godfrey, joined. In 1956, the league moved to the Central High School field. That's on the corner of 33rd and Avenue H, across the street from Salinas, that far end of where Central is. And I'd like to make note of this. Prior to Central being built in 1954, where the field was where these guys played softball. And then after Central came up, then they moved to where the Falstaff League was, or that park, or right over there, adjacent to the brewery. Where the park is now, that's where it's a softball park there as well. In 1958, under Commissioner Bobby Williams, the league was renamed Galveston Negro Little League and moved to the Central High School field that I just mentioned. The Panthers became the ILA 851 Falcons, coached by Gilbert Ward and a young Lewis Simpson. The XXX Dodgers disbanded. The St. Augustine Cardinals became the St. Vincent Blue Sox, coached by police officer Charles Lemons and a young Fletcher Baldwin. Remember, I made mention of Fletcher Baldwin earlier. And I'd like to make a note that Mr. Charles Lemon was a great athlete at Central, went on to become All-American and all that. But here in Galveston, he became the first crime scene investigator for Galveston. Again, great individuals. It's just so much history that these guys did, and he continues to this day. And just great advocate for youth. Where else was I? The joining teams that joined were ILA 329 Red Sox, coached by young fireman Joel Bell and Joshua Woodard Sr. Carver Elementary School PTA Rebels were coached by Charles Hopkins, Andrew Law Sr. ILA 1504 Daredevils were coached by Mr. Cobb, Ira Bacon, Fred Alaniz. And the ILA 1308 Braves were coached by William Chapman II, Henry Faust Sr., with the YMCA and the Texas City remaining. There were 9 teams in 1958. I'd like to make a note as we pass basketball. I made mention of William Chapman II, but he has a son, William Chapman III, who played baseball. But William Chapman left Galveston. He was one of the first kids to integrate Tyler Junior College, if you know about the Apache Bells with the dancing and all that. But William Chapman went up there and he helped them win the junior college championship his freshman and sophomore year. He was then recruited to go to Baylor, was one of the first African Americans to play for Baylor in 1970. His first year up there, Baylor finished 3rd in the Southwest Conference. William Chapman was first team All Southwest Conference. His senior year, again, Baylor finished, this time they finished 2nd in the Southwest Conference. Again, William Chapman made first team All Southwest Conference. He was recruited by the NBA and the ABA. You know, he had 2 different leagues at that particular time, but they didn't come across with the monies that he wanted, so he ended up leaving and playing in Europe, and he's never been back. So we talk, we talk to him from time to time, but he likes it better over there. And hopefully he'll be here. He's been inducted into the Prairie View Interscholastic League Coaches Association Hall of Honor, and that will be held at the Marriott Hobby on 91 Gulf Freeway on July the 11th. So there's food for thought, and hopefully he and his significant other will be down for that event. Again, coming back to the baseball aspect of it, we have in 1960, the YMCA team and the Texas City Yankees disbanded. The PTA Rebels became the Colt 45s. ILA 1308 and 1504 locals merged and became the ILA 1504 Braves. The Dickinson Cubs and the Dickinson Dodgers joined. There were then 8 teams in the league. If you notice, I say a lot of stuff about ILA. And the ILA men were very influential in the city. In fact, we had premier equipment. There was a sense of supporting the young men, and those guys, they worked, if they worked in the morning, it was from 7 to 5 or 7 to 6, and if they worked at night, it was from 7 to whenever they finished. But those guys came to the Little League ball games. Like you see now, you don't see parents showing up until everything's championship. But these guys came out, they were in different locals, so they hoorah'd each other. And if you didn't get there early, you didn't get a seat. If you didn't get there a little after that, you didn't get standing room along the fence. And if you got there even later, it was 3 or 4 people deep every night. So it was quite a community event on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. The, where is that? And let me see, coaches changed. The Falcons coached by Lewis Simpson and O.B. Parker, Gilbert Ward, David O'Neill Sr., and teenage coaches Lawrence Nanchild Franklin and Bernard Sleepy Johns. The Red Sox were coached by Andrew Laws Sr., Frank Moultrie, Bill Milliken, Joshua Woodard Sr. The Blue Sox coached by Fred Alanis, Victor Denton, and others. The Colt 45s were coached by Charles Hopkins, Bobby Williams, Samuel Stevens Sr., and the ILA Falcons continued to be the team to beat. In 1961, the league moved to the Alamo School site, and other commissioners were Bernard Curtis Sr., Charles Bubba Fields, and the last commissioner was Bill Milliken in 1969. The Negro League was hoping that young black boys would be picked up in the registered Galveston Little League, and thereby unifying the youth of Galveston. Most of this was compiled by Mr. Frederick Peanut Ferguson, who could remember a little bit more than I could about this. The funny thing, with all the great winning that we had in the Little League program, like I said, in 1960, Mexico was allowed to play in the Little League World Series. So when they let Mexico in, well, we petitioned to join in the regular Little League program, thinking that since integration had already been cracked. So we had to try out for the Little League program at Colombo Field. All that other stuff wasn't out there then. Burnett wasn't out there. It was just the YMCA on the corner of 43rd, where the park is now. And it was just a baseball park and some other stuff out there. But we had to try out. That's the first time we played. We batted against a pitching machine. Kids, so the ball just coming right over the plate. But after our display of catching the ball and hitting the ball, then they wouldn't let us bring a team in. In other words, our coaches had to relinquish their positions, and then they could take our players. And so the coaches decided we're not going to do that. So that was in 60, and so we remained a viable league until 1969, when we hoping integration would come into place. Now, that didn't come to be. They didn't sign up a lot of our kids. But those clippings that you see on here now are the ones that were referring to the Galvez Negro League. What am I saying here? I can't see. Now, I'm going to give some information about what took place after there was such a void in having opportunities for young black boys to play. That's when the Ray T. Shepard League was established in the 70s, in 77, 78, but it was not sanctioned. We didn't become chartered until 1981. And we were joined not the regular Little League program, but TTAB, Texas Teenage Baseball, which is the same ruling. It's the same dimensions of the field. It's just that Texas Teenage Baseball is a true summer program. If you got any parents out there now, you know there's sometimes a little bias when you're playing Little League Baseball and regular Little League, because if you're not a superstar, you don't play after the first or second week in June. And then it's not a true summer program, whereas Texas Teenage Baseball is a complete program that affords kids something to do until after the 4th of July. It gives the kids an opportunity. So it's a true summer program. The Shepard League was I think I just mentioned that. The Shepard League performed to fill the void of baseball in the inner city because Little Leagues were either on the extreme east end at Lindale on 6th Street or the extreme west end at Central at Colombo on 54th Street. Again, Texas Teenage Baseball parallels Little League in ages, rules, and dimensions of the field. And again, the Texas Teenage Baseball is a true summer program as all players participate until after the 4th of July. Now, the Shepard League was a rebirth of the Galveston Negro League formed in 1952 when boys were not allowed to play in the Galveston Little League. The Galveston, where am I here? Yeah. The Negro League existed from 1952 to 1969. From 52 to 55, it was at the Wright CUNY Park. From 1956 to 1960, it was at Central School. And from 61 to 69, it was at Alamo School. And some coaches during this era were H.J. Frater, George Ward, Mr. Prater, Gilbert Ward, Joel Murphy, Coach Jasper of Texas City, Joe Carmen, Charles Lemons, Fletcher Baldwin, Charles Hopkins, and Mr. Carp and Ira Bacon, Joel Bell, Frank Moultrie, and Dickerson coaches, umpires Philip Chason, Fred Turner, William Peter Harris, Bernard Curtis Sr., Robert Longdrink Johnson, Charles Bubba Fields. And again, I made mention of Reverend Thomas earlier. Reverend Thomas was the president of the league, and his wife, Ruby Thomas, and the family were the concession people and the bookkeeping. Back then, you bring the foul ball back, you get a free snow cone. So hopefully we've given you some insight as to what took place. And again, I always like to applaud Greg because he does some great work. So we got an opportunity to fill some voids as far as basketball championships, and so hopefully we've enlightened you. I'll turn you back over to Greg. Oh yeah, I got one more. Yeah, I forgot. This is the state championship team. Thank you, man. All right then. These guys, again, you see some of these same names that played Little League have come on to become the last championship teams at Central. And I'm going to try to call some of these names. You've got on that front row, you've got Clarence Thomas. You got Ivory, Khaki Ball, Ruben. You got Dooney Johnson, Samuel Johnson, George Compton, Essie Sanders, Deacon Essie Sanders. In the back row, you got Floyd Eigelhard, Dan Goodlow, Dr. Morgan, Charlie Hall, George Compton, not George Compton, George Gardner, Johnny Cooper, Michael Dodson, and there's Frederick Peanut Ferguson, who made the team as a freshman. You got Baby Gus Allen, Anthony Punchard, and Kermit Curryville. And on that back row, you've got Iger Hart, but I'm trying to see who is that. Dan Goodlow. Yeah, Dan Goodlow. Who's that pitcher next to Papa Charlie? That's Jones. That's Jones. And then you got Charles, Papa Charlie Brooks, and John Silverand. Those were the guys on that team. There's some guys that were missing as well. Yep.
Oh, you?
I was statistician for those games.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was statistician for those games.
Yeah.
That's their state championship team. And back then in the 60s, and I'm sure they did this across the board, when you got to the state championship, you played a 2 out of 3, best 2 out of 3. So in the first game, they were playing Marshall HB Pemberton for a state championship. Pemberton won the first game 4-3. Then in the last 2 games, Central won 6-0 and 8-0. So they came in and they were declared a state champion. So now I want to tell you a little bit about Marshall Pemberton. The school started in 1894. Okay, and it was called Central High School back then. And Dr. Henry Bertrand Pemberton Sr. was not only the principal, but a lot of those schools back then met in churches, but he raised money to build their school building. And almost immediately, they had over 1,000 students in the school system up in Marshall, Texas. And the students from Wiley College kind of tutored the students. They became some of their teachers. So they had a good support system there. But there, he made sure that he taught them, even from the elementary school level, he taught them lifetime skills. They were taught early how to cook, sew, agriculture. And a student said in a report or a documentary they did on them, they were job ready when they graduated from high school. So they were marketed to where they could go find a job. Then, of course, in 1970, they consolidated with Marshall High School, and the building was sold to Wiley College. But Central was the name of the school until 1940, and then the students petitioned the school board and the superintendent of schools, so they renamed it H.B. Pemberton High School in Central. And that's a lot of times, you see these schools, but you don't know the name behind the school. And a lot of these, even today, that's something I wanted to make sure that y'all understood about Marshall High School. That guy, Dr. Pemberton, did a lot to support that school in that town. And then, now this is your 1964 state runner-up for Central High School. And in the 66, they were district champions again. So they had quite a good baseball run there in the 60s.
We sure did. We had a great team there. You see,
he was. Yeah, I saw that. So you don't look much different then. So you kept your youth pretty well.
Yeah.
So we're at the point now where if you have any questions or comments, we'd like to get some feedback. You can look at it. You can find him without looking for his name. You can.
The arrow will be, Captain, front row. And that's William Chapman sitting next to me. Yeah. And I'd like to make note that we were the last district championship team for Central under PVIL governance.
Yeah.
Now, they won a championship in football later on under UIL government.
That was 67.
Yeah, that was in 67. But the 66 team,
That's right.
yeah, 66 team, that's the last district championship team that I And I ended up making all district and all state for that particular year, and was
Congratulations.
inducted into the Prairie View Interscholastic League Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2015.
He's never said that, so I don't know that he just said that now. So
Yeah.
this kind of guy is. But, we're open for questions or comments.
Ms. Boudreaux?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Well, this sweater is, as I made mention of the ILA, they really took care of the little kids and they gave you motivation. This is my dad's sweater from that the league, ILA 851 had bought them. Of course, my actual sweater was a little bit smaller then. Was a little bit smaller then, but that's what this is. And so I was trying to give the feel of what was going on in the 50s, and so I was trying to be the dapper man with the bow tie and how they dress. And again, the intangibles of these guys that were so prevalent for us, how to dress, how to present yourself, and that bode well from the Little League program through high school. And these same guys who were helping with Little League basketball, Little League baseball, they continued on with their services all the way through high school. We made mention in football in our last format that we dressed in blazers. We were declared as Jimmy Blair and some of them declared us the best dressed high school in the state of Texas. Yeah. See, you had to wear your blazer. It was like a badge of honor in the whole community. It wasn't your blazer. It was a blazer for the entire team, and you got your size to wear the blazer. And with that said, we were just the best dressed team. It was you wanted to get a blazer. Yes, ma'am.
What did the sweethearts do?
The sweethearts were just sweethearts. They just made the picture look pretty. If you notice in most of the sports, there was always a sweetheart. It was always somebody. They may not necessarily be a cheerleader, but they were supportive. They'd come to the game. Hey, you guys doing a good job. You get them next time and all that. And it was always students. It was just a different mindset now. If you notice, like, in high school and schools now, you had adults monitoring kids, going to class and telling them to move along. But when we were in school, every class selected a hall monitor. So you had to have good grades, you had to have a good conduct and so forth. And so in most situations, it was little girls who were usually first. And you got all these girls, and they could tell you, move along. and everybody, they're shorter than everybody, but they tell you, move along. There was a respect for discipline and authority. Again, it's the discipline thing again. So that's what that was. That's what the sweetheart did. Yes, ma'am.
Your father's team was what?
My father's team was the ILA 851 Falcons. That's what that F is for. 851 Falcons. And if I made mention earlier, we were the team to beat. We were disliked like the Yankees, so to speak. But it bode well. As you read some of those clippings about title game or playoff games, in most situations we were in it. And it was just a great time. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
What position did you play?
I played first base. And that's a whole nother story. I was a lot of firsts in my life. I was the first child of my parents. I played first base. Then I was supposed to be the first African American to play baseball for the University of Houston in 1966. But I had an opportunity to go to Prairie View because Freddie Ferguson and Thomas Sanders were trying to get me to come to Prairie View. Esther Sanders was trying to get me to come to bishop, but I started getting these letters from U of H. And I'm naive, and naivety is the first cousin to stupidity. So, so I thought I was going to just walk right across and play for the Astros. But see, I didn't know that they didn't know I was black. See, he made mention of all these schools that are named Central. That's why you have to say Galveston Central, because there are several other centrals in the state. But my story was that I went there to play, and University of Houston was the first school to actually openly recruit African Americans. Back then, you couldn't go to Texas A&M, Baylor in 65, 66. The only one was the University of Houston. And you couldn't go to UTEP later on. But long story short, that became a little hoopla. I did really well. The captain of the baseball team was ready for me to play, and so many, but the head coach didn't want me to play. And so it ended up, I lasted until the last act, the last cut. And when they swing the cut, if they don't call your name, you know you didn't make the team. But I was a novelty in the sense that my technical math instructor, Mr. Parker Fitzhugh, he acknowledged, back then, the World Series was over in September, not in October like it is now. There were less teams. So he was a big baseball fan. And I had a class from 7 to 10 in the morning. When they have a class like that, they've got a twin class at 7 to 10 in the evening because it's a commuter school. And they wouldn't leave, they'd come watch us play. So now, African Americans are playing basketball and football, and now there's a guy who's going to be playing baseball. They were actually coming to watch us practice. I've knocked the arm off the pitching machine. I'm doing really well. I'm running. There's an article in the campus paper about a guy playing, people coming to watch the practice, and I lasted the last act. But back then, in 66, they changed the way it is. Back then, you had to play freshman ball. Like you see kids now, they want to play right away. Back then, you had to play freshman ball. But they changed that rule for baseball, and all, they were declared minor sports. The only person team that applied to was football and basketball in 66. And then they changed everybody else, track, tennis, golf, and all that. You could play right away. So I lasted until the last act. And we didn't have a black student union then. We had ABLE, AABL. It was called African Americans for Black Liberation. So they were all excited about a blacks going to integrate the baseball program. They writing articles, and then I don't make the team. So they trying to figure out what's going on. And that last meeting, I'm trying to think, man, I've done all I could do, and I know I'm better than half these guys. And then I'm thinking to myself, man, that guy must have made a mistake. So another kid on the team said, Coach, I think you made a mistake. You didn't call O'Neill's name. See, and I'm thinking to myself, that's the same thing I was thinking. And so then the guy says, where the semester rule again? Another kid says, hey, look, Coach, this year freshmen are eligible to play. He can help us. Because, again, the captain of the baseball team, who was also the captain of the football team, had come out. A lot of people don't remember that U of H had participated in the College World Series the same year in 66 that I'm playing high school ball. So they're trying to get back. And again, they were already most kids were accustomed to integrated situations. So then the coach says, where the semester rule again, as if I was going to fail. So another kid told him, hey, Coach, he won't flunk out till after the season over. So the point is, I didn't make the team. So now there's a hoopla, an uproar from ABLE, African American Black Liberation, and now we've got some of the girls who were writing in the newspaper. They're writing about alleged discrimination. And then Houston had two newspapers. now all of a sudden there's a little splurb in there from the Post and the Chronicle. And so now the athletic director was a guy named Harry Falk. Harry Falk was the athletic director. And he's already shown that he's open to getting a better player, the best player that he could get. So now Lovett Hill, who was the baseball coach, I know they called him on the carpet, but he's got to get a person of color. But he can't get me, because that would be openly admitting that he was biased against me in the first place. So he got a guy named Don Bean. Don Bean played in Beaumont Hebert. He was the side partner to Jerry Levi's. Jerry Levi's was the athlete that integrated SMU in football. Again, you couldn't play right away. He was good enough to play right away, because of the rules, he had to play freshman ball. So they got Don Bean to play, even though Don Bean was already on football scholarship there. So he got Don Bean to play. So my claim to fame is I was not the first to play baseball at the University of Houston, but I was the catalyst for the first black to play baseball at the University of Houston. And again, when I made mention about I was the first child. I was the first, I played first base. I was the first African-American male counselor for Dormitories Incorporated at the University of Houston. I was the first public relations guy for the Black Student Union after it came. So I always say I got a lot first. I went Galveston Central, the first 12th grade public high school for African Americans in the state of Texas. And we take that with great pride. Yeah. Any questions? And we want to thank you. We wish we'd been more with this great information, but we'll be coming back. And I'd like to applaud Tommy Jean Henry. What's that last name now? TJ, just TJ. We didn't have girls athletics. We didn't have girls athletics in high school. I tell this all the time. Again, that's my mentor over there. He taught me to be the statistician and so forth like that before I started making the team. That's David Dumas. But she could run. We had great track programs, but she outran some of the guys. And Coach Kerrville took her. They didn't want girls to go. Took her to the TSU relays, and she pointed. She made points, but they stopped her from going after that. She just made that one track meet, but she could run. Tommy G. Any questions? Yeah. Well, we want to thank y'all for coming.